2020 may have been tough, but we still have a lot to be thankful for. Happy Thanksgiving from your Filipino radio experience, PHLV Radio.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas, PHLV Radio. PHLV Radio. Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
Magandang gabi mga kababayan. Ito na naman po ang isang edition or isang episode po ng Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. A day before Thanksgiving. Today mga kababayan is the 25th of November 2020 and I'm sure napakaraming mga plano para sa Thanksgiving, but we'll talk about that later. Pero today, pag-usapan po natin sa Immigration Law on Your Side ang Employment-Based Visa Petition. We're gonna revisit this one, especially with the new administration coming in. Tingnan natin kung ano ang mga maaaring magbago. Alam niyo naman po na si Attorney Diza ay palagi pong nagbibigay ng mga updates sa atin. Especially, inaabangan natin itong sa ating mga Pilipino, yung EB3, palagi nating inaabangan sa atin pong mga visa bulletin. Mga kababayan, an employment-based green card is a process that gives legal permission for any foreign national to live and work in the United States. Other than family-based, itong employment-based visa, isa ito sa mga pinaka-common ways for a foreign national to obtain a green card. So to walk us through this evening mga kaibigan sa ating pag-uusapang employment-based visa petition ngayong gabi sa Immigration Law on Your Side, i-welcome po natin muli si Attorney Flomi Javier Diza from Reeves Immigration Law Group. Magandang gabi po sa iyo, Attorney Diza.
Magandang gabi, Johan, at it's always a pleasure and honor to be here at PHLV Radio. At sa lahat ng mga viewers and listeners natin, maraming salamat po sa patuloy po ninyong pagtangkilik sa aming programa, Immigration Law on Your Side.
I'm sure, Attorney, napakarami mga nag-aabang because of the current developments. I'm sure people are watching the news. So mamaya meron akong itatanong sa inyo regarding dito sa mga bagong developments. But in the meantime, walk us through, Attorney, dahil napakarami mga nagtatanong regarding employment-based visa petition. How can a foreign national obtain an employment-based visa petition? Iba ito mga kababayan sa H-1B, yung mga non-immigrant. Ito po ay immigrant visa. Paano po, Attorney?
Yes, Kuya, as you mentioned kanina, ang employment visa, green card through employment visa is one of the ways sa mga kababayan natin para makakuha po sila ng green card. At syempre kasama din yung family-based that we discussed in our prior episodes. Ngayon, pag-usapan naman natin ang employment base. Unang-una, Kuya Yo, mostly sa ganitong paraan, kailangan nila ng petitioner o tinatawag natin US companies na para i-petition ho sila. So, yun ang una pong step na gagawin ninyo unless, of course, may mga exception po tayo dyan, pero very seldom yan. Yung pag-usapan natin mamaya, yung mga preference category na dinidiscuss ho sa visa bulletin. But generally ho, kailangan po ninyo ng employer. So, either may contact po kayo dito sa US or probably you can apply through their website and tell them that you're looking for an employment and work in the US at tatanungin din ninyo kung nag-sponsor po sila. So either kayo po mga kababayan nandito sa US on a valid non-immigrant visa kagaya halimbawa ng H-1B, right? Yung mga L1 na pinag-usapan natin, nandito kayo on a work visa or probably student visa. At meron kayong employer who's going to start the process, pwede po yon. Now, yung mga, sa note natin doon, Kuya Yo, hindi kinakailangan magtrabaho sila kaagad. Diba? Kasi halimbawa nasa student visa sila or nasa L1 sila sa ibang company or H1B, non-immigrant at yung inyong employer ayaw po kayong i-petition, pwede po kayong maghanap ng ibang employer na willing na mag-file ho ng green card kasi those are two different things. But importantly, of course, pag nasa US po kayo, dapat i-maintain po ninyo ang inyong status. Now, yung mga nasa Pilipinas naman, okay lang din ho sila maghintay doon, di ba? So habang hinihintay yan at tinitignan natin yung visa bulletin, pwede in-start yung process at hintayin kung ano yung priority date nyo para i-process po ang inyong green card. And this is a good news din sa bagong policy, yung bagong administration natin, as we discussed on our prior episode, that President-elect Biden, sa mga immigration plans niya on employment base, tatanggalin niyo yung quota. Yung nagpapatagal kasi yung quota, Kuya Yo, sa tagal, di ba? Let's say, ang mga EB3, yung mga professional natin, kagaya ng registered nurses, it used to be 5 years, it used to be 2 years. Now, pag nasa US naman, it's current. So, hopefully, matatagalan yung pagiging current para kung makahanap ng employer, lalo na with the COVID and everything na kailangan natin ng mga medical practitioners or, medical professionals dito sa US, bibilis po ang process. So, keep that in mind and hopefully maraming mga employers na maghahanap po ng mga foreign workers.
Mhm. And napakaraming categories ang employment-based visa, attorney. I'm sure ang mga kababayan natin nagtatanong, saan ba ako dito tatama? For example, yung nabanggit niyong mga medical workers, anong kategorya kaya sila makaka-shoot, attorney? So walk us through, what are the employment green card categories, attorney?
Now, if you're going to look at the visa bulletin, Kuya, mayroong employment EB1, right? Mayroong EB2, EB3, ibig sabihin ng EB is employment-based, EB4 hanggang EB5. So very common sa ating mga Filipino ay yung EB3. Ito yung mga professionals or yung mga skilled and unskilled. Kasama dyan yung mga caregivers, mga cooks, teachers. So nandyan po yung EB3. Pero marami rin tayong mga kliyente from the Philippines and elsewhere, yung EB1. Ito, Kuya, yung extraordinary ability. Ito yung mga may expertise at outstanding sa kanilang field, kagaya ng mga professors and researchers, extraordinary managers. In fact, in this category, Kuya, hindi mo kailangan na employer, di ba? Kasi let's say researcher po kayo or scientist, you have to establish na nire-recognize kayo internationally, kagaya ng yung mga awards, international awards, kagaya ng Nobel Peace Prize, mga ganyan, mga outstanding researchers. So hindi ko kailangan ng employer. Now, also in the field of arts, sports, kung magaling ko or entertainment, kung extraordinary ang ability ninyo, magaling kayong kumanta, at meron kayong international recognition, pwede po yan, di ba? So kagaya halimbawa ni Manny Pacquiao, right? Pero senator ng Pilipinas, dahil sa kanyang boxing skills at saka mga championship niya, And also some of the artists and singers, pwede sila mag-qualify dito sa EB1. So yun po ang EB1, at the good thing about this, as I said, is number one, hindi siya subject to labor certification. And pangalawa, walang kumbaga as of now from the Philippines current yan. So kung i-file mo kaagad yan, you can get the green card concurrently with this petition. So yung EB1. Yung EB2, marami pa rin magko-qualify dyan kasi ito yung advanced degree lang, Kuya Yo. Ito yung may mga 5 years na experience halimbawa sa kanilang field. Kahit bachelor's degree ang kanilang natapos, but with the 5 years experience, pwede na sila mag-qualify ng advanced degree or training. Now, yung mga may master degree, not necessarily in the US yan, Kuya Yo, pwede rin gawin yan sa ibang bansa, kagaya ng Pilipinas, as long as, gagawin sila ng evaluation, that the education obtained in the Philippines or outside the US, has a similar or equivalent in the United States. So yun ang kinaganda ng EB2. Although this is subject to labor certification, current ka agad dyan. Parang EB1 yan, hindi ka kailangang maghintay ng priority date to become available. Although ang EB2, kailangan pa rin ng labor certification dahil magre-recruit ang employer po ninyo at mag-advertise. Once that's approved, and pwede na kayo mag-file ng concurrent petition from the employer at the same time, adjustment of status or green card pag nasa US na po kayo. So essentially, walang waiting time yan. The only setback ko dito sa advanced degree or EB2 is that even if you have, the required education and training, syempre titignan mo rin yung employer. Kung malaking company yan, walang problema because they're willing to pay, right, ang inyong salary based on your education and training. But the problem is yung mga startup companies or small to medium companies, even if you have the requirements, hindi ka pwedeng isingit sa kanilang, sa kanilang business, right? Para lang mag-fit in yung qualification mo. Dapat unang-una may need, right? May need yung inyong natapos at experience, at the same time kaya kayong bayaran. So yun yung EB2. Now, ang EB3, very common ito yung palagi natin pinag-uusapan, and I know marami sa atin ang interesado dito dahil mabilis ngayon ang processing time o current yan. Naging current yan last year in July until December, right? Nag-retrogress ulit siya January, but recently in October until now, current pa rin yan. So, pag nakahanap po kayo ng employer, right, to start the process right away. Kasi hindi naman kaagad-agad kuya unless with the exception ng registered nurses and physical therapists, hindi kailangan ng labor certification yan. But mostly, ang EB3 professionals, teachers, accountants, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, medtech, lahat ng professionals nagko-qualify dyan, nagpipit in dyan. Kasama din yan, kuya, yung mga skilled workers and unskilled. So lahat yan, sama-sama sila sa EB3. So kung kayo pang may skill, halimbawa carpentry or nasa construction, right, or nasa IT kayo or caregivers or nannies, lahat yan doon din papasok sa other workers. And if you look, as I said, at the visa bulletin ngayon, it's current. So pag na-approve yung labor certification nyo at nandito kayo sa US, pwede nang i-file yung I-140, ibig sabihin yung petition ng employer and adjustment of status right away. So very important, Kuya Yo, ang discussion natin ngayon because marami pa rin sa mga kababayan natin na nasa US na naghihintay ng oportunidad, di ba? Anong gagawin nila? Of course, ibang usapan huyaan kung kayo po wala ng status kasi ayaw natin sayangin ang inyong pera at panahon, right? Na maghanap kayo ng employer at kayo naman walang status, hindi po pwedeng makapag-proceed sa green card kung gano'n ang sitwasyon. Although may mga exception as we discussed in our prior programs na may mga exception dito. That's why it's really important Kuya Yo, sa mga kababayan natin to consult with an immigration attorney to discuss yung pathway ng kanilang green card.
So you were telling us, attorney, that this is, of course, employment-driven. Maghahanap sila ng employers. Kung nasa Pilipinas sila, attorney, at may na-contact sila dito, sino po ang may first move dito? Is it going to be the employer na magpe-petition sa kanya? Yun ang unang magpa-file ng I-140, kamukha ng nasabi nyo?
Yes, definitely ang employer, Kuya Yo. Usually mga client natin from the US, especially nung kasagsagan ng pangangailangan ng mga nurses, they go back to the Philippines and they interview mga applicants, di ba? Titignan nila yung qualifications, kung magpa-qualify, and then they bring the resumes in the US at sila magpa-file. Now, may mga situation naman din na may mga contact na sila dito sa US at isasubmit na lang nila ang kanilang resume, submit to the employer and submit to the attorney. So essentially, as you mentioned, this is an employer-driven petition. So mostly of the undertakings, the paperwork, the contracts, manggagaling yan sa employer. So hindi yan gagalaw without an employer's cooperation, but of course, yung mga applicante rin, Kuya Yo, yung mga prospective employees, kailangan din mag-submit ng mga documentation, right? So may mga questionnaires din ibibigay sa kanila and of course provide, mga civil documents sila and of course, very importantly, of course, yung qualifications, right? So kung registered nurses ang petition, kailangan of course yung kanilang licenses, and education, transcript, diploma, etc. So yes, kailangan ng cooperation ng employer.
Nabanggit nyo kanina, attorney, yung labor certification. Does this apply to most of the foreign workers?
Yes, except for the EB1 and EB3, right? So EB2 mostly subject ng labor certification and EB3 as well. With the exception ng mga registered nurses and physical therapists, yun lang yung exempted ng labor certification. Right, just because the Department of Labor certified that there's a scarcity, right, kakulangan ng mga nurses, registered nurses and physical therapists sa US, so hindi na kinakailangan ng labor certification.
So in other words, attorney, this is some sort of a protection para sa mga American citizens, sa mga nandito, na para hindi sila magkaroon ng kompetensya sa labor market, ano po, attorney?
Yes, that's the purpose of the labor certification, Kuya Yo, which is essentially saying that, bago nyo i-certify, bago kayo makapag-file sa mga employer, bago sila makapag-file ng petition sa mga foreign workers, they have to make sure that, as you mentioned, American citizens are not displaced. There's no willing, qualified, and able U.S. citizen to take the position. So that's why it's really important for the employer, na before they initiate the filing ng petition, magkakaroon ng labor certification where they do the recruitment, good faith and genuine recruitment efforts, meaning mag-advertise yan, Kuya Yo, sa newspaper, 2 beses yan, na Sunday of a newspaper of general circulation, ipopost ang kanilang, ang kanilang pangangailangan sa kanilang site. At the same time, sa website nila, on-site, ilalagay lahat that they need this employee, para hindi ma-displace ang US market. And also, ang after that, after the ads, kailangan din silang magtawagin yung mga applicants, di ba? So may magsasabit ng resume, and the employer is required, of course, to call them and ask them questions, if they are fit in or qualified in the position, or kung gusto ng employee talaga na magtrabaho sa kanila. Kasi kung walang willing, Kuya Yo, na mag-take ng position, of course, doon isa-certify ng Labor Department that there's a scarcity of of the job. So then the Labor Department will certify, the job offer, right? Pag na-approve yan, then the employer would do the second step, which is the filing of the immigrant visa petition. Ito na yung pumapasok yung I-140. As we mentioned kanina, in the past, ang EB3, ang waiting time is 5 years, na 2 years, nagiging current, tapos biglang mag-retrogress. So, the good news is that, as we mentioned, even with this last month, current ho ang EB3, and hopefully with the new president, at tutuparin niya ang kanyang pangako that, dadagdagan niya ang quota or wala ng quota para maging current palagi ang employment-based EB3 petition.
Mm-hmm. One of the most common categories ng employment-based green card or visa. Meron pa pong EB4 and EB5. Walk us through the EB4 and EB5, attorney.
Yung EB4 are special immigrants, Kuya Yo. Ito yung mga religious workers, right? So, kailangan pa rin ng employer. So, it's either the church denomination such as the Catholic Church, right? Iglesia ni Cristo, or any religious denomination can file a petition. Kailangan ito full-time job din, Kuya Yo. At the same time, one of the requirements, of course, is that babayaran din sila, hindi to volunteer job, right? Hindi to volunteer offer. So, the applicants, the priest or the minister or the religious worker must be paid, must work full-time, and must have an experience of 2 years sa kanyang church, membership ng church bago sila ma-petition. So, ibig sabihin na newly converted ka ng Catholic Church this year, pwede ka nang i-petition. Hindi ko. Dapat meron din silang 2 years membership and experience working with the church. So, yun yung EB4. So, marami yung EB4, Kuya Yo. Religious worker, nandyan din yung mga CGs na sinasabi natin, yung mga abandoned children. Let's say, yung mga pumasok from the port of entry, maraming na-separate, di ba, sa mga kamag-anak, sa mga pamilya, sa magulang recently, nawawalang mga bata na around 500. At, if they were abandoned, intentional or intentionally, and they were themselves dito sa US, they were below 18, some other states below 21. So, pwede silang mag-file ng guardianship sa local courts, and once they are declared as abandoned children, pwede rin silang mag-file ng I-360. So, may mga Pilipino bang nangyayaring ganyan? Meron din, di ba? Yung mga bigla na lang dumating dito, iniwan, pero very, very, very seldom tayo nakakita ng mga abandoned Filipino children. Aside from those two, as we mentioned, meron pa yung mga battered spouse, which we already discussed in our prior discussions. Ito yung mga self-petition, right? 360 self-petition, kagaya ng binubugbog ng asawa, sinasaktan ng asawa, hiniwalay ng asawa, inabandona. and also mga widow or widowers. So I-360, yan din nasa EB3 category rin sila. So ito yung mga samples ng EB4 category. So nandyan ho sila lahat. At of course, ang priority date, if you look at it, is always current as well.
Wow.
So yan po yung EB4. So hopefully marami rin nagtatanong sa akin if if they work in a certain religious organization. Sabi ko yes, as long as you have also as the other employment base, this is an employer driven. Maghanap po kayo ng employer who's willing to initiate and do the process for you.
Mm-hmm. May nagtanong dito sa ating radio station, attorney, about this next category. Yung bang mag-i-invest dito sa Amerika? I believe it's like a $1 million investment that you have to bring to the U.S. and create some jobs. Is this the EB5, attorney?
Yes, that is the employment creation or what we call investor's visa, sa green card dyan. So don't confuse this with the E2. Yung E2 is non-immigrant dyan, di ba? You're coming here to put up a business. Mas maliit actually ang requirement dyan, or there's no specific amount of money as long as it can sustain the business, di ba? So yun yung E2, investor's visa, right? But the EB5, there's a amount requirement which is 500,000, sa mga rural areas, and $1 million US dollars sa mga urban areas, to create a job and employ at least 10 US workers. So dalawang bagay yan. Either you can choose a regional center, nandyan na naka-establish na yung isang business, right? And then you just put your money in there. That's what we call passive investor. Or you might want to participate, in the management and operation of the business, by yourself. But you have to show that you have this capacity, to invest. You have this amount of money to invest. And of course, one of the major problem natin dito, Kuya Yo, is yung how to trace the funds. Sometimes it's going to be difficult, lalo na sa atin sa Pilipinas, especially kung hindi dinedeclare lahat ng mga income natin sa ating income tax. So sometimes it's hard for you to say that this $1 million comes from a legitimate source, by showing a filed income tax return, or probably a minana sa magulang. So pwede rin mga ganon. So one of the obstacles or difficulties natin is how to trace the funds dito sa EB5 sa mga kababayan natin sa Pilipino. But marami pa rin sa atin, ang pinaprocess natin dito. The only other issue dito, Kuya Yo, is that siyempre yung investment mo hindi naman assured dyan, di ba? So right. Sometimes it just gone within a few years, a few months, wala na yung 1 million mo. So mahirap din yon. At the same time, itong klaseng EB5, Kuya Yo, pag na-approve yan, parang marriage yan eh. Binibigyan ka lang ng 2 years, right? It's a conditional green card, and you have to go back, 2 years down the road to show to the USCIS, sa Department of Homeland Security, that your business is still there. Employing 10 people, earning some income, creating some jobs. Hindi tipong yung 1 million na naglaho na, wala na. So how can you sustain the business, and how you are able to renew your green card if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Well, mga kababayan, para sa ating mga late tuners, kayo po ay nakikinig at nanonood po ng Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. Atid po sa atin ang Reeves Immigration Law Group. We'll head over to a break, attorney. We'll just remind them on how to contact Reeves Immigration Law Group worldwide. Meron sa China, meron sa Philippines, and here in California as well. I will remind you on the break about that. But when we come back, mga kababayan, para sa mga employers, especially those who will be doing the petition, yung mga magpe-prepare ng I-140, what are the things to consider when you are preparing an I-140 petition para sa inyong mga EB2 and EB3 cases? Sa pagbabalik po ng Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio, dyan lang po kayo.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Mga kaibigan, nagbabalik po ang Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. We're here. Ako po mga kaibigan, I'm broadcasting from Las Vegas, the PHLV Radio studio in Las Vegas. Si Attorney Diza naman po ay nandun po sa Bay Area, sa California, and we're bringing you Immigration Law on Your Side every Wednesday right here at PHLV Radio. And today's the 25th of November 2020. It's a day before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving po sa inyong lahat. Marami tayong pag-uusapan ngayon, pero ituloy po natin ang ating napapag-usapan regarding sa employment-based petitions or employment-based green cards. What are the things to consider if you're preparing an I-140 petition para sa inyong mga prospective employees? Para sa inyong mga EB2 or EB3 cases. Kung ako po, attorney, ay isang employer, ano po ang kailangan kong i-prepare?
Yes, since this, as we mentioned a while ago, this is an employment or employer-driven petition, Kuya Yo, so maraming kailangan from the employer's end. Unang-una, we need to show the ability to pay. That's really very important because, as we mentioned, kailangan bayaran ang foreign workers yung tama, kung ano yung pre-namis. Kasi once you file the labor certification, Kuya Yo, or even without the labor certification, meron pa rin yan sa mga registered nurses kasi magre-register sila sa Department of Labor, and you're going to state and request. Actually, you're requesting the prevailing wage, di ba? So, for example, you are employing a caregiver in the area of Las Vegas. Siyempre, request mo ang Department of Labor from that area, or a registered nurse in the Silicon Valley, kailangan mong tignan ang prevailing wage. And once you prepare for the labor certification, you're promising, as an employer to pay the prevailing wage or higher. Pwede naman mag-offer ng higher, right? Wag lang bababa doon sa prevailing wage. So, the immigration, the Homeland Security wants to see your tax within the year when you file for the labor certification until the applicant or the beneficiary immigrates or obtains the green card into the U.S. So, ibig sabihin, kung naghintay ka ng 5 taon, right, you started 5 years ago, you have to provide all the 5 years taxes. Kasi kung mayroong 1 taon ka dyan, Kuya Yo, na bumaba yung income mo or nag-negative 0 ka or negative ka or 0, then that's another problem. Although there are solutions sa mga ganyang sitwasyon, but very importantly, of course, is the ability to pay. Now, most employers would ask, attorney, ano ba ang exactong amount para makapag-petition ako, di ba? So, I tell my clients that if you're earning millions, right, it does not mean that you're able to petition or you're able to file a petition simply because if that is your gross income, meaning before taxes, before expenses, ang tinitignan ho nila dyan yung net, right? Yung net, magkano ang kinita mo, magkano yung profit mo within the year. So, for example, you earn 1 million, but your income losses and expenses, for example, 1.5, so negative 500 ka pa. So it doesn't really look good, right? And believe me, a lot of small businesses, right, or or even big companies, big corporations, we try to minimize paying our taxes, right? So we avail of all the benefits or deductions. Sino naman ang gusto magbayad ng taxes kung nagbabayad na tayo ng malaki sa ibang paraan. So, definitely, I caution my client that, it doesn't really look good if you have a lot of expenses, right? It's up to you. But if it shows, for example, even if on the positive territory, like a caregiver, for example, nasa 30,000 yung net niya. Let's say 1 million ang kinita ang kanyang gross, pero nag-net siya ng 30,000, right? At ang prevailing wage ng caregiver halimbawa is 25,000, okay na yon, right? Kasi papakita meron ka palang ability to pay. So that's one way of proving it, as long as you're in the positive territory, right? And as long as you can also show that you're able to pay. Now, there are situations, as we mentioned, Kuya Yo, yung mga start-up companies, hindi rin, siyempre sa mga first 2, 3 hanggang 5 years siguro, di ba, nagda-negative yan or maliit lang ang, net income, tinitingnan, Kuya Yo, dyan yung assets ng company, ano bang assets mo, tinitignan yan. So, pwede i-consider yan. Or for example, yung company is a partnership, right? In case of partnership, pwedeng tignan yung income ng partner, isang partner, right? So, halimbawa, in the care home, dalawang may-ari, ang income ng care home, ang net income ng care home is, let's say, 10,000 lang, pero one of the partners, was income was like 100,000. So, pwedeng i-consider yon. So that's a good thing about, the determining ability to pay. But as I mentioned, we have to prove that from the time you file the labor certification up to the time na magi-green card yung aplikante or makukuha yung kanyang visa. That's number 1. Number 2 is that yung job offer ba is legit, right? So let's say sa care home company ba, kailangan natin ng accountant, right? So, dahil yung kamag-anak mo, yung pinsan ng kapatid mo, or, yung best friend mo, accountant yan, i-fit in mo yun sa company mo, it doesn't work that way also. Kasi, kung hindi normal yan sa business na meron kang accountant, titignan nila ilan ang care home sa area mo na may accountant, di ba? So, gaano ba kalaki ang company mo? So, tinitingnan ho lahat yan. So, is the job offer legit? Of course, yun ang tanong. So let's say kung caregiver naman or nasa hospital po kayo at siyempre ang in-employ mo si registered nurses, wala nang tanong doon, di ba? Dahil you really need a registered nurse. Also, in a care home company, sometimes gusto din nila, pwede bang petition yung RN ko? RN na kakilala ko. And again, that's another question kasi does a care home facility need a full-time registered nurse? So those are the issues that you need to resolve. Kasi kahit ma-approve yung labor certification, Kuya Yo, or kahit pa ma-approve, ng I-140, these issues might resurrect, pagdating ng green card process or yung sa immigrant visa process. So importantly, yun Kuya Yo, ang mga tinitignan, pag nag-file ng I-140. Gaya ng petition sa kamag-anak, yung I-130 sa mga relatives, tinitingnan yung relationship, nung tatay sa anak, ganun din sa I-140, tinitingnan din yung mga qualifications like the ability to pay and of course the job offer, whether the job offer is legitimate or not.
Mm-hmm. So, kailangan kumikita yung kumpanya. In other words,
correct. Kumikita yung kumpanya, may legit job offer, and I forgot to mention the third one, yung qualifications ba ng aplikante, right? Yung employee is na-sustain or kompleto ba, right? Yung kung sinasabi natin na registered nurse, meron ba siyang license to practice in the US? So isa mga yan. Kasi one of the requirements din, kung professional ka, you need to pass, the state board licensure kung saan po kayo employ. Or let's say Montessori school teacher, kailangan ba ng graduate ka or certification ka to be a teacher in Montessori, yung mga ganyan. So, tinitingnan din yung qualifications kung na-meet niya, kung kompleto yon or hindi. So, yun lahat, essentially, Kuya Yo, ang tatlong tinitingnan, tinitingnan sa I-140, ability to pay, job offer, and the beneficiary or the employee's qualifications.
Isa, attorney, sa mga itinatanong sa atin dito sa PHLV Radio, as you know, ang dami nating mga kababayan, mga nurses, at palagi ko rin naririnig itong sinasabi nilang visa screen. Sabihin nila, mag-expire na yung aking visa screen. Ano po itong visa screen, attorney, para sa ating mga viewers and listeners?
Yes, that's one of the requirements, Kuya Yo, for an employer to file for a petition sa mga registered nurses. Usually, Kuya Yo, pag graduate, foreign graduate, meaning graduate po kayo ng Pilipinas ng nursing, right? You have to provide yung documentation, right? Unang-una, graduate ka ng nursing, provide mo yung diploma mo and also yung transcript of records mo. Second, you have to pass yung tinatawag nating state licensure board ng US. So either yan yung NCLEX, right, yung nursing licensure examination, or meron pang isang tinatawag NCLEX, and there's another one which I forgot. Dalawa yan eh.
CGFNS.
Oh, yung CGFNS, that's correct. So either yun, ipapasa mo yun to make sure that you pass. And also there's the third one, which is the English language, di ba? Examination.
Oh, yes.
TOEFL. So kailangan mo rin yun. Although ang Filipino, bibihirang bumabagsak ng... Meron akong client na napasa na NCLEX, yung TOEFL na lang. Sabi ko, ano ba naman, di ba? English, ano lang yan eh. Kumbaga, minamani-mani lang ng ibang mga nurses yan. Mas mahirap actually NCLEX. But there was a time where hindi siya pumasa ng TOEFL. Siyempre, pag kulang ho kayo ng requirements, hindi yan wala kayong visa, ano ba tawag to, yung sa hindi kayo bibigyan ng certification. So, kailangan ipasa lahat 'yon para ma-certify kayo, mabigyan kayo, at one of the requirements also for registered nurses and physical therapists. Yun mga requirements na nabanggit natin.
Mm-hmm. And once the I-140 has been approved, attorney, para sa ating mga kababayan or any other beneficiary, whether they're here in the States already adjusting or whether they're in the Philippines, how long does it take for these beneficiaries to get the green card itself?
Yeah, we have to look at the visa bulletin. Doon pumapasok yung categories, kung ano yung category. Usually yung EB2, yung mga advanced degree natin, yung mga may masterals, right? Always current yan. Of course, yung EB1 talagang current yan. Pero marami sa mga Filipino nating clients, yung mga may master degrees or 5 years experience, ang walang waiting time yan, Kuya Yo. In fact, as I said, if they're here in the US on a valid visa, or they're here out of status, pero meron silang protection under what we call 245I, right? Pwede nang i-file yung kanilang green card concurrently. Now, pero kung hindi pa current, usually i-file mo ng I-140. So even if the I-140 is approved, right, hindi pa rin gagalaw, right? Hindi ka pa rin pwede mag-file ng green card, or hindi pa rin gagalaw yung petition mo sa National Visa Center or sa US Embassy unless it becomes available. Now, I repeat again na ang EB3 ngayon, Kuya Yo, current. So, sitwasyon ngayon is that once the labor certification is approved, then the I-140 is filed and approved, right? Current na yan. So pwede na makarating dito, i-process na kaagad yung kanilang visa, tumatakbo na yan. And of course, yung processing time pa rin sa National Visa Center might take about 6 months, without of course yung pandemic issues and yung suspension ng entry of immigrants ng Pangulong Trump. Although we believe that is going to expire end of December of this year. So usually yan, Kuya, mga 6 na buwan lang may process na yan at may interview na sila sa embassy once the case is approved and once it's and the visa is available and once it's forwarded to the National Visa Center for processing.
Merong kadikit na tanong dito, attorney. This includes the family also, attorney?
Yes, the good thing about the process, Kuya Yo, is that the first, second, yung labor certification or the I-140, hindi kasamang family. Mm-hmm. So hindi yan magastos, masakit sa bulsa, di ba? Kasi sabi ng client, isa-isa, hindi. Hindi ho. Since the only one na pinapetition, of course, yung registered nurse lang, di ba? So yun yung first 2 steps, siya lang involved. But the third step, which is the green card, right, or the adjustment of status, pwedeng isama ang family, legitimate spouse, right, and also children below 21, sila po makakasama po sa pagkuha ng green card o pagkuha ng immigrant visa sa Embassy ng Manila. Mm-hmm.
So, ibig sabihin, ang ina-apply lang is yung pinakang beneficiary, yung pinakang, for example, nurse, siya lang.
Doon sa I-140 stage,
sa
I-140. The I-140, oo. Mm-hmm. Pero nakalista yung mga family members dyan. So in other words, ang babayaran lang ng filing fees yung isa, di ba? Yung nurse lang. But once the visa becomes current and available and they're immigrating already, kasama dyan ang asawa at kahit 6 na anak pa yan, as long as they're below 21, masasama rin lahat yan. Although, ililista lahat yung mga pangalan dun sa I-140 para once it becomes available, malilistahan din yung mga pangalan nila sa notice ko ng NVC. Diba? Nandun lahat yung mga derivative beneficiaries, right? So, nakalista lahat doon. Kung hindi pa pinapanganak yung bata when you file the I-140, pwedeng sabihin ng NVC, meron pa akong tawag nito anak, and this is the birth certificate para ma-issuehan din siya ng ma-issue din siya ng invoice para magbayad dun sa kanyang visa.
Pwedeng idagdag.
Pwedeng idagdag. The visa application and the visa process would be individual, Kuya Yo. So bayad dyan sa pag-process ng visa isa-isa. Isa-isa sa family. One per family yan. So bayaran mo yung immigrant visa na $325 each, and then also the affidavit support $125.
And luckily mukhang hindi nga natuloy yung pag-increase ng mga fees, attorney?
Yeah, that's really good news, Kuya Yo, dahil suspended or hindi natuloy yung pag-increase. So hopefully that remains that way for long time para hindi naman hirap yung ating mga kababayan para sa kanilang filing fees.
Speaking about fees, attorney, I'm sure mga kababayan natin, especially those who are thinking about going through this path na nasa Pilipinas sila, sa simula, yung I-140, I'll backtrack a little bit on the I-140 filing of the employer. Since it's the employer triggering the process, is it yung mga filing fees ba ng I-140, is this the employer na who's going to take care of it?
Yes, it's a requirement under Department of Labor that the labor certification, aside from the I-140, Kuya Yo, even the labor certification process, right, and the I-140 should be paid by the employer. Yung pang isang hesitant ng ibang employer minsan, di ba? Dahil sometimes, as they said, kung marami namang local, dun na lang nila kukunin. But also, that's what the law is. And being an attorney, even the professional fee, Kuya Yo, yung mga bayad sa abogado, bayad sa tawag nito sa newspapers, kasi magpapa-advertise sila, kailangan ho ng bayaran ng employer, lahat yan. Yung first 2 steps, employer yan. Pero yung sa green card process na, or sa pag-file ng immigrant visa, pwede nang i-shoulder ng beneficiary.
Okay, so malinaw yan mga kaibigan. I'm sure maraming nalinawan dyan sa paliwanag ni attorney that the green card process itself towards the end sa beneficiary na sa inyo na yan. So mag-ipon po kayo mga kababayan. Kung marami kayong mga anak ay kailangang mag-ipon. Well, attorney, napakaganda nitong napag-usapan natin because I'm sure in the coming year, we're all looking forward to a better 2021. And sa mga kababayan natin who are thinking about going this route, at least meron na po kayong information on how to go about looking for an employer. And then kung nandito kayo sa Amerika, on how to adjust into a green card if you're back in the Philippines or anywhere in the world, on how you would be able to find an employer who will qualify. So, kailangan magko-qualify sila. Hindi basta-basta employer. Hindi siguro pwede, attorney, yung may kakilala akong may tindahan sa Las Vegas. Baka pwede ako i-petition. Hindi naman siguro ganun kadali yun, attorney,
Yeah, mahirap Kuya yung mga retails, lalo na kung madaling i-fill in yung positions, di ba? So, it's better yung mga ayaw ng US citizen, yung mga Amerikano, yung trabaho, kagaya ng caregiver. So we always emphasize yung home caregiver because very seldom yan yung mga US workers want the job. So mga Filipino at least, they can take the job and they can also do like yung 24, yung overnight or live-in, pwede sa kanila yan, is a requirement ng employer. That's correct. So hindi lang basta-basta yan. Even office worker for that matter, mahirap din. But may mga lumulusot at marami rin na-approve, yung mga bookkeepers, yung mga ganyan, at accountant, pwede rin, But again, you have to show na walang willing US citizen na nag-fill up ng position.
All right. Okay, so malaman mga kaibigan ng ating episode tonight right here at Immigration Law on Your Side, the 25th of November. If you are watching us after the 25th on our podcast platforms, on our on-demand platforms, and Amazon Fire TV, nandyan po kami sa Spotify, iHeartRadio. Itong mga information pong ito na susunod na babanggitin namin ay mga current information as of the 25th of November. So, having said that, attorney, ano po ang mga, I'm sure, with the news, with all the things that are happening, marami napakaraming mga bagay-bagay na involved ang immigration. For example, the choice of the president-elect as far as the Department of Homeland Security is concerned, the person who's going to lead that is I believe a son of a Jewish Cuban refugee. Very interesting, attorney. I'm sure napakaraming mga updates at inaabangan po, attorney, ng mga listeners natin ang inyong mga updates. What can you tell us about what's going on, attorney?
Yes, actually, ang American Immigration Lawyers Association really welcomes yung nomination ng President-elect Joe Biden ng pamumuno ng Department of Homeland Security, na kung saan nandito yung immigration, part ng USCIS, si Alejandro Mayorkas, as you mentioned, is one of Cuban citizen who became a citizen in US citizen in 1973, and also, naging deputy sa secretary ng DHS nung panahon ni Obama. So, he can be credited yung passage ng DACA, so Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival. So, we are happy na kung siya ang mamumuno nito, siyempre mamimaintain yung DACA, and hopefully, with the cooperation ng Congress, magkakaroon ng pathway to citizenship yung mga DACA recipient natin. So isa sa mga good news yan dun sa nomination ng President-elect Biden sa kanyang Department of Homeland Security. Of course, titingnan pa natin, Kuya, yung pag-umpisa naman ng paggawa ng pag-implement ng batas, sa paggawa ng batas will start in January 20th. Ang isang inaabangan din ng mga immigration watchdogs and advocates is that yung mga changes na gagawin ng Pangulong Trump bago siya umalis, yung sinasabi yung birthright citizenship, para bang yung mga pagpinanganak ka dito, under the Constitution, kasi that's constitutional. I don't think it's going to be amended or implemented, na pag pinanganak ka dito hindi ka pwedeng maging citizen. That's mandated by Constitution, right? Regardless of the status ng magulang mo, pag dito ka pinanganak, you're automatically 100% US citizen, because we follow yung just solely na tinatawag sa batas, na you are a citizen by your place of birth. Unlike the Philippines and most Asian countries kagaya ng Japan, right, and Filipinas, hindi tayo sumusunod sa just solely. So we follow just sanguinis, meaning kung yung blood mo, ang magulang mo ay Pilipino, ang nanay mo ay Pilipino, or ang parents mo ay Chinese, pinanganak ka sa pinanganak ka sa Pilipinas, hindi ka Pilipino. So yun yung difference. But of course, there are other possible actions si President Trump na gagawin, but hopefully kung negative yan or hindi maganda sa immigration immigrants, then most likely it will be reversed by the next administration, or probably questioned yan sa mga district courts or sa mga courts.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, magtatapos na lang ang 2021 na napakarami pang mga developments, mga kababayan. And that's why manatili pong nakatutok dito po sa Immigration Law on Your Side. Again, for our late tuners, I am broadcasting from Las Vegas, Nevada. Si Attorney Diza, mga kaibigan, he is broadcasting via Zoom right now from the Bay Area. And we hope that we can see each other again here at the studio very soon here in Las Vegas. Attorney, maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga updates nyo. I'll give you this floor, Attorney, right now to speak directly to our audience kung ano po yung mga messages nyo, especially tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Well, unang-una, Johan, maraming salamat sa iyo, right, sa mga listeners natin, at sana patuloy nating tangkilikin ang maraming programa ng PHLV Radio kasama yung Immigration Law on Your Side. Listen and share yung ating mga programs and episodes sa inyong Facebook page, and also, like, ang law firm namin ay hanggang ngayon nagbibigay po ng free legal consultation and free legal services, free legal consultation sa ating mga clients na nangangailangan ng mga tanong by Zoom or by telephone. So we don't do in-person consultation yet. You can reach us at www.rreeves.com. You can email me directly at fdiza@rreeves.com, or check our website, Facebook page, and other social media platforms, and you can message us there. No, you'll be consulting with an immigration attorney and immigration specialist para sa inyong legal immigration problems. And sa lahat mga viewers natin, as you mentioned, Kuya Yo, it's Thanksgiving Day tomorrow. We cannot emphasize to thank enough all the immigrant communities and advocates para sa kabubuti at pagpasa ng immigration laws na makakatulong po sa inyo. As we tell our clients and our colleagues that the immigration, the Thanksgiving dinner tables may look different this year, no? Sa 2020, hindi kagaya ng previous years, but one thing remains the same, that Thanksgiving Day is a time for us to reconnect with our loved ones and families. Gagawin man ninyo yan sa pamamagitan ng Zoom, kagaya namin ni Kuya Yo, or by telephone, or via messenger, or probably a social distancing gathering. Gagawin nyo yan. Let's all celebrate Thanksgiving and thank for the people who help us. And also, to forget about the chaotic days behind us and our differences. Kahit maka-Trump ka or maka-Biden ka, it's time to move on, right? It's a Thanksgiving Day. Of course, and again, from my family and my law firm at Reeves Immigration Law Group, to all our viewers and listeners, have a safe and happy Thanksgiving Day po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat.
Nako, maraming salamat po, Attorney Diza. And from your PHLV radio family here, from my family to yours, happy Thanksgiving, Attorney Diza. At sa lahat po ng mga kaibigan natin sa Reeves Immigration Law Group worldwide, especially din sa Pilipinas and in China, and they have offices here in the Los Angeles area and in Bay Area sa San Francisco. So Attorney, maraming salamat again, and we hope to see you again in a couple of weeks para ma-update natin ang ating mga kababayan, and all those who are following immigration news. Tutok lamang po dito sa Immigration Law on Your Side. Every Wednesday po kami, mga kaibigan, right here at PHLV Radio. I am broadcasting from Las Vegas. Attorney Diza broadcasting from the Bay Area via Zoom. Mga kaibigan, we will see you next time. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at PHLV Radio. We'll see you next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.
2020 may have been tough, but we still have a lot to be thankful for. Happy Thanksgiving from your Filipino radio experience, PHLV Radio.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.